Welcome to the channel, everybody. Now, today is episode 3 of our continuous beginner's guide series. And today we're going to go for a little exploration and go through our metabolism more in depth, as well as our skills and our stats and how our attributes are affected by all of this. Okay. So what we're going to do is head down to our nearest town. So we're just going to head down here quickly, have a little search around, see if we can find anything. Obviously, it would help if we could find a pair of trousers or something. So I'm going to head down there quickly, and I'll meet you when I'm down there. Okay, well, I was just running down towards this town. Heard a donkey in the distance. So we're going to try and hunt this quickly. Because if you can find an animal early game and hunt it successfully, then you're laughing, really. So a little tip for you when you're doing this: you hold down your right mouse button to go into awareness mode, and then hold down shift and let go of your right mouse button. You'll stay in this without holding down the right mouse button. Gives you a little bit less strain on your finger while you're searching around. Now, sometimes you can see the tracks, the blue highlight of the track from a distance. Again, this depends on your awareness skill as well. So the higher your awareness skill is, the easier it is to spot these tracks. Northeast, so northeast, that's general direction. I'll obviously cut all this down for you guys so you don't have to watch the whole process. What we could do with getting this donkey, so then I can explain a bit better about metabolism and stuff. Obviously, I don't want to be just spawning stuff in on this guide, or on this guide series. I want to do it all, like, naturally. Obviously, the exhaustion in single player at the moment is a bit bugged. So, it may not show up on this guide. Mate, why does that donkey sound like it's been possessed by something? Oh, there it is. It's fine. It will run away, but it will stop. Just follow the general direction it ran. You'll come across it again. It does make noise and stuff as well, so it's not like it goes completely silent after it does this. Yeah, lovely. Got ourselves some food starting out straight away, basically. So what we want to do, pick up our arrows first of all, and then search this. Now, luckily for us, we did find this knife in the kitchen in the last episode, so we can now skin this. But if you do not have a knife or any sharp object, you can just make a stone knife, like I showed you guys, obviously, beforehand with 2 stones. And then with that, you can do this process. Now, obviously, we've been running around a bit, doing some things, and our stats are in the green. Now, with strength, this will only go up when you're doing active tasks. Obviously, if you're running around with a heavy gear weight load, then this will produce more strength for you. Now with constitution, obviously if you're like we are now, we're not moving. As you can see, it's affected by inactivity. So because we're not doing anything, this is why this is now gone into the red. When they're in blue, just means they're stable, they're not changing. Green means they're going up, red means they're going down. Okay, so with our dexterity, this is currently going up because we're losing fat. As I said, with these things in our last episode. Now, with your calorie and burn intake rates, etc., as you can see here, we have a burn rate of 96 calories an hour. Our intake rate at the moment, because we haven't eaten for a while, our intake rate is 90 calories an hour. So what this means is we're currently using 6 calories from our energy reserves to keep us going, okay? Now, the more you're doing, the more you're moving around, the more your burn rate will rise up. So if you're trying to upgrade this or improve it, what you need to do is keep yourself at a higher burn rate than your intake rate. This way, it will use your energy reserve and this will shoot up. But you need to be careful of this, obviously, because then you'll lose fat. If you lose too much fat, you can have consequences from this. Again, with anything in Scum, you can hold down left control on your keyboard and it will bring up a lot of information about it, okay? And this is everything in Scum. Okay. Now, if you have a rifle and you don't know what rounds it takes, if you hold left control, it will give the information on there and it will tell you exactly what round it takes. So if you're having trouble finding, you know, you've found a certain pistol, but you're not sure what type of round it takes because, you know, there's 20 different types of pistol ammo, then obviously if you do this, it will give you that information for you. So it's just a nice little tool to use if you ever need that information. Obviously with these as well, hold left control. Now, strength is the physical power of a person, typically measured by how much you can push, pull, lift a physical object. So your strength is raised by proper protein intake and executing actions under a load. Like I said, if we've got a good protein intake and we're carrying a lot of stuff as well as running around, that's going to improve our strength. Okay. This is lowered by a protein deficiency and loss of muscle mass. So basically, if you're doing the opposite of that, it's going to go down. And this will influence your overall carrying weight. So how much you can carry, your overall melee damage, and your calorie burning. Okay. Now, with your strength, you can raise this between 1 and 8. This is the only skill that you can raise up to 8 at the moment. All right. These two here. Well, these 3 here, we can raise permanently up to 5. And then once you get to 5 on your intelligence, you can also use buffers of 1, 2, and 3. And that then can mean you can buffer up to 6, 7, or 8 intelligence for an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many buffs you're using. All right. So with your constitution or body type defines everything connected with physical endurance and stamina. It's raised by moving in general, walking, running, swimming. So any sort of basics of moving. Okay. As I said, inactivity, or it lowers the influence by not moving, staying still for longer periods of time. All right. So while you're resting, this will drop. But obviously, if you're running around for a lot of the day, this will already be going up anyway. So it shouldn't affect it too much if you're taking a 5-10 minute break, you know. Now, this influences your overall health points, your stamina, your damage and status. So how well you can take sort of like shock, take like an arrow to the leg or something like that, you know, poisons, your resistance to them. This also influences your immune system. So the lower this is, the worse your immune system will be. So then when you get injured and you take a sort of bacteria into your body, if you've got a really bad immune system, it can easily take over and give you a infection. And then you need to treat that with antibiotics. All right. So obviously calorie and water consumption efficiency as well. So the higher this is, as we can see, if we click on this at the bottom, the effects, it says we get a minus 20% consumption rate, jogging and running. And then we get a 10% increase in jog and run speed. Okay. And obviously the more this goes up, we're on a medium skill at the moment. Advanced, this will go up more. And then advanced plus, it will go up even more. Same with your endurance. So endurance gives us a plus 10% recovery rate, and then a minus usage on energy and water. So this. So the higher this is, the longer it will take for your body to use these, okay? So as I said, they do influence each other, okay? And it does look like a lot of information when you first come and look at this as a brand new player. But as I say to you, just hold left control and it will, oh, pardon me, and it will give you all the information you need on that, okay? So it's very user friendly, and this is what I like about Scum, okay? You can come into the crafting bar, you can come into the metabolism inventory, anything, and you can see so much information about it. If you click on one of these, it will tell you exactly what you need to craft that item. It's very, in my opinion, it's very, very user friendly, okay? So if we move on to our dexterity. Our dexterity determines how skillful you are in performing everyday and or complicated actions. It's raised by a calorie deficiency, so as I was saying to you, losing weight. So if you're running around and you've got this and your burn rate's higher than your intake rate, obviously our intake rate now is 0. So this will increase this. As you can see, it's going up because we're losing fat. Now, it's lowered by calorie sufficiency, so by gaining weight. So if you've eaten a massive meal, okay, and you've gone up, you've intaken, say, 1,200 calories, all right, that technically will raise this up to 120%. Now, it'll only go up to 100, obviously, but if you then lay there and do nothing, this will then affect this in the negative because you'll be gaining fat because you're not doing anything. Again, this all comes down to as well what you're eating. So protein, carbs, fat, fiber, sugar, saturated fats, and then obviously alcohol. But keeping yourself a nice balanced healthy diet will also help with this, all right? If you're eating things like crisps and chocolate bars, things like that, they're very high in saturated fats, which isn't obviously good for you. You're going to gain a lot of fat. So if you're trying to gain muscle mass, you need to stay away from all your saturated fats. Higher protein, higher carbs, you know, exercising with a heavy gear weight load. So if you go on a long hike through the map, say if you live here and you travel all the way up to the big town with a massive rucksack, you loot up, you run all the way back with that extra gear weight, that's going to really increase your strength and your muscle mass, all right? So there's ways of working things in and combining things to help with this as well. And obviously this influences your overall movement speed and action speed, which includes your crafting, eating, reloading. So the higher your dexterity is, the quicker it is to reload a magazine, the quicker it is to go through the action of eating any type of food or drinking, you know, crafting items, that sort of thing. So having a high dexterity will really help you out in speeding things up, okay? Now, with intelligence, intelligence is one of the attributes that have recently changed, and by changed I mean they've just been revamped and improved. So before, we couldn't increase or decrease our intelligence before 0.9. Now with 0.9, what they've done is they introduced permanent buffs and temporary buffs. So obviously we took an even 3-3-3-3. Now if we find a permanent module, buff module, and we go to bunkers and we fill that module up, and then we can either install it ourselves, or we can go to a trader, to a medical trader, and have them install it for a price. And what this will do, this will raise this up to a total of 5, because as I said, obviously we can get a max of 5 in this attribute. And then from there, you can use the individual buffs to buff this temporarily for an hour to an hour and a half, alright? So your intelligence is the capability of perception and successfully performing tasks. It's raised by upgrading your BCU with a BCU memory module. And it is lowered by topping yourself, alright? Influences global experience gain for skills of all attributes, squad size limit if you are the leader. So obviously the higher your intelligence is, the more squad members you can have in your squad. So again, all these skills do have their own individual things that will help you throughout your gameplay, but they also do tie in with each other, okay? The same with all this. All this ties in with pretty much all of these, except from your intelligence, really. You know, it will affect these, but your intelligence really is only affected by you either topping yourself or obviously upgrading with your BCU. Now, exhaustion is something I can't really go through with you right now in this sort of playthrough because I'm on a single player playthrough. Now, there are, as I said, some issues with exhaustion with single player at the moment. It's not really gaining correctly. So, what I will do is I'll leave a link down in the description to another guide I did a little while ago. It's not too old. It's relatively updated. Thought and exhaustion guide. And then you can go have a look at that, and that explains all your exhaustion and stuff a bit better. It goes into a little bit of your nutrition values and stuff like that, and what types of foods to eat and things as well. Obviously, I'd love to show you that here, but as it's bugged, I can't really do that, as I said, at the moment. But there is another guide on the channel to go and view and learn from that if you need to. So, we've gone through, obviously, our attributes now and what they do. Obviously, we've gone through our nutrition values, what they do, energy and water. Water works exactly the same as your burn rate, intake rate on this. Obviously, usage rate, intake water of intake rate is 0. We haven't taken any water in. Now, don't drink from the sea. It's salt water. It's not good for you. You will puke and you will become dehydrated. Now, what we're going to do is chop this donkey up that we found. Because as you can see, we've got a lot of vitamins down here and minerals. And again, like, even I don't personally know exactly what all of these in real life do or what I need for them exactly, you know. But again, with Scum, hold left control and it will tell you everything you need to know. Best sources for vitamin A is carrot, dandelion, parsley, pumpkin, rosehip, cooked vegetables, vitamin pills, melon, rancid, and butter. And this is for everything. You can find all this information on every single one, including your minerals. So again, it's very user friendly. But what we want to do is just have a look at a bit of meat from this donkey. Got a bit of donkey meat here. Now, if you hover over it, it'll give you some basic information. Now, if you hold left control, it will give you a lot of information. Okay, so other than the bit of, you know, description of what it is above, if we look below, we have substances per use. Okay, and this will give you every single bit of information you need to then go back to your metabolism, say, oh, I'm short on B12 or B2, so then I know this will give me B2. Oh, that's good then. Oh, and it's got B12 in it. That's good as well. So I know if I eat this, that's going to improve this and this vitamin level. Okay. So again, it's very easy to keep on top of these if you're looking for the right things, and you can look for the right things by doing this. Now, if we went and found ourselves some mushrooms, then obviously we could make ourselves a nice skewer. And obviously you do this by going into here, go into skewers, and then mix skewer. This is a mushroom, a vegetable, a piece of meat, and these are optional extras. And obviously with this, this will then give you a nice amount of substance. So it's very easy to keep on top of this stuff. Alright, now we are going to take some of this with us, because we may need it later on. But 4 bits will be enough for us. We've got a bone needle already. Now, animal skins, very good to have. Unfortunately, the only problem with this is we don't have anywhere to put it. We can carry it in our hand, and this would be a good idea because we do need a piece of thread. We can find a piece of thread, and we're laughing. Alright, now what I'm going to do is head down into this town because I feel like we need to find a piece of thread. So the axe, I'm not too worried about. We'll leave that there. They're very easily craftable items. So, you know, you can craft one of them 30 seconds. So what we'll do, we'll just run down to the town. We'll have a look around, see if we can find a piece of thread. Once I've got a piece of thread, I can then make a bigger bag. I can then make quivers, I can make a lot of stuff, as well as repair my clothing. So, if we have a quick look, now I'm running around, our constitution will now go up, because we're obviously active. Our dexterity will go up, because we're still losing fat. And our strength will go up, obviously, because we're running around with weight on our back. So, what you'll find in some towns are trees like this that you can search. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything on that one. And unfortunately, there's no water in this fountain either. So, a little tip for you, down south, it's a lot harder to come across water than it is up north, I find. Especially in the snow areas, you can just pick up snowballs and eat them. That will give you some water intake. Obviously, the fountains fill up a bit easier here than down south, I feel. I mean, it's just general gameplay from me. When I've been up the north or in the central sort of areas, I tend to find there's water in fountains. Whereas down south, unless it's a free running fountain, like at a church or something, very rarely find water. Where's all the thread at? Come on. Bottle of water, that's a bit of a lifesaver right there. Always search these guys as well. Sometimes they'll have extra items on them. Sometimes they even have screwdrivers on them, which do come in handy when you go lockpicking. Now we are down south, so the more clothing we're wearing, the hotter we are going to get. Hey, nice. Realise I dropped my animal skin somewhere though. That's fine. I'm going to show you a little tip for some of you. I did have a comment. Obviously, with prefab beds, they have made them so you can search them now. So any bed you can search now in Scum. Obviously, if you want to rest in them, hold down F. Oh. Oh, there you go. I thought that was bugged then. Yeah, if you hold down F, you'll have two options, rest and search. So yeah, it's just the initial ones now, search rather than rest. Someone dropped a pack of cigarettes. We'll take them. Save yourself a bit of room. What we're going to do, we're going to bundle these up quick. Make ourselves an improvised sewing kit as well. Just bundle one of these up quickly. This game, I tell you. As soon as you're not looking for them, find them bloody everywhere. Now, we have our sewing kits. We managed to gather up 3 now, which is just funny as hell. As I said to you, when you're not looking for something, just find them everywhere. But we've also got a load of rags. Alright. So we're going to bundle these up as well. Keep these with us, because this will come in handy for crafting at a later date. So if you go into crafting, you can bundle these. This will save you a bit of space. Rather than it's taking up 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, we'll just take up the 2 spaces. Now obviously, if you still manage to have your animal skin on you, you can then make yourself one of these. And this will give you an extra slot here. So you'll get the 2 slots, so you can carry 2 lots of arrows. Alright. But it used to be that you could use human skin for it, but you can't anymore. But we can use the human skin to make other stuff like bigger bags. Alright. Now, we are going to need a basic in survival to do this. So we go over to our stats, into our intelligence. Look at our survival, we're at 2,222. Now, you can level this up relatively easily. Crafting related items. Okay. And by doing that, it's just crafting these sort of stuff. You know, crafting yourself weapons, crafting axes, spears, bats, like arrows, bows. You know, there's things here that will help with it as well. Crafting yourself, it's like, where are they? Bits of rope, this sort of bag, even crafting this type of bag. Could actually do one of these. So what we'll do is we'll take this with us. He says, there we go. Alright. Did I pick anything up from here? Yeah, I did. Ooh. Alright then, so just head back downstairs quickly. Now obviously, if you're on a single player, I wouldn't really worry about the doors. If you're on PvP, then shut all the doors behind you in every single place or building you go to. It's very easy for a player to know that someone's been there as soon as they see a door open. If I was to come into this town and I see that, I know there's either a player in this town or they've been through this town. Alright. Just a little tip there. It just gives you a bit better protection, obviously, against people that are on the map as well, finding out exactly where you are. It's very easy to track a player. If you come to a town like this and you see there's doors open and they're not here, the next place they're either going to be is this area, maybe even this area. So then if you're in a squad, split up into 2 groups and go find them. You know, it's things like that. Now, obviously, you can search aloe vera plants and get yourself some water through that. But in the town, we did find a few drinks. So we're going to drink this now. And obviously, we can see here it's got energy, sugar, water, calcium, potassium, and phosphorus. So that will go into our system. That will give us 542 intake rate on water. It's liquid, so it counts towards water. Obviously, we get a bit of intake rate from it as well on our calories. It gives us some energy. But obviously, it's not enough. We're burning double what we're intaking at the moment. So this will go down very quickly. All right. Now, what we want to do, just make ourselves another axe up quickly. As we're getting hungry, what we'll do is we will make ourselves a fire. I'm going to cook ourselves some food quickly. Okay, we don't have a lighter, so make some kindling. Not a kindling, a fire starter. Fire drill, there it is. So we can do this by 2 small sticks or 2 long sticks and any type of sharp object, which can be a crafted knife as well. Now obviously, as I mentioned in previous episodes, make sure you pick this up and everything that you craft, because it will fall on the floor straight away. There we go, got ourselves a fire going. Hit F to cook food, go into skewers. Now we've only got the meat, so what we'll do is we'll just add that onto there, hit that, do the same for this one, bring that over, hit that, and then move away from the fire. Obviously it's quite hot down here. We are wearing relatively warm clothing. So as you can see here, our temperature is 36.6 at the moment. Obviously, the more clothing we're wearing, the hotter we'll become. We'll then start getting stuff like hypothermia. If obviously you're too cold, then you'll get hypothermia. You know, there's a lot of things that play into your health and your stats. Again, if you look now, we're quite bad on our energy. Obviously, our intake rate now will go up slightly because our burn rate is now dropped because we're now inactive. But then again, obviously that's going to affect our constitution. Get the idea? So again, they all play into each other, but obviously you can use this knowledge of just reading exactly what it does. And it's very easy to guess, okay, well, all I need to do then is keep this at 80%. you know, do a load of running around so it drops down to say 20-30%, have a good meal, get it back to 80%, rest for 10-15 minutes, get rid of some of my exhaustion at the same time, and then go out and do more stuff. And then this will raise all of these back up. Obviously this will go up when you're moving, this will raise up because you're constantly eating a good amount of food, so then obviously your calorie intake would be good as well, so this will go up. It's all the basis of just playing the game and learning. Okay, obviously this is all very basic information on how to use this system and just get along with it, but as I said, it's very user friendly, very easy to get along with this sort of thing. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to set a timer on them. I'm going to get our survival skill up a bit while we're waiting for our food to cook. You know, there's no reason just to sit around waiting for it. So we may as well get some skill while we're doing that. Obviously this as well will make sure that we're moving around, gaining skills. None of that's dropping too much. Oh, here comes the rain. That's not good. We can do that, and then we can uncraft them. Obviously, we'll get the skill for bundling them up. We'll get no skill for uncrafting them, but we can then use these again to chop them all up into small sticks, and then with those small sticks, we can then craft other stuff like rope. We can craft arrows. We can use those sticks to craft the longer sticks to craft spears. Obviously with the rope and the small stick and a stone, we can then craft stuff like hammers and axes, you know. And all of this will get up your survival skill. You're getting 55 XP every time you cut a long stick into a small sticks. Now, another point to make to you guys, it's raining, and as you can see, we're getting absolutely soaked, and we can see that by the little raindrops on the side of our items. Now, if you hold, again, left control, it will give you a bit of information about it. At the bottom there, you can see all that information. Obviously, you can see that without holding left control anyway. Oh, let's take that off. Take that off. Lovely. Well, we've got ourselves some food now, at least. And what we can do with this is we can quite clearly see here that if we look at just a piece of meat on its own, we get 34.4 calories per use. Now, if we cook this into a skewer, we now get 394 calories. Okay. Now, the reason this changed like this is because, as you can see, this is 10 of 10 uses. So that would be 340.4. So you're gaining a little bit extra if you cook it into a skewer. But obviously you're using all 10 of 10 uses into one skewer, alright? If we were to say use this and make fish bait, this would use 1 out of 10 items, so you'd get 10 fish bait out of it, okay? But we've got some food now, so we're going to eat this. And it's absolutely chucking it down. And what this means, as I was saying, obviously now all our clothing is now wet. We're going to gain weight in our gear weight. Okay. So this will rise up the heavy, because obviously we're heavier now from all the rain. So when it's absolutely chucking it down like this, generally I don't really go out too much if I can help it, or if I'm around a building, I'll stay around inside a building, because it takes a while for your clothing to dry out unless you take it off and put it near a fire. Alright. But we haven't got a home. We're pretty screwed at the moment unless we run back up to that town. But right now, there's not much point. What we're going to do, we're going to stick around here where all those sticks were. We're going to continue to cut these up and get our survival skill up to a basic. And I'll join you when I get that back up to a basic. as I was saying earlier, if you eat something that you don't agree with, your body doesn't agree with, you'll get food repulsion. Now, if you eat too many of this, obviously this will keep building up until it gets to a certain point that you'll then be sick. Alright? Now, if your food repulsion, if you've eaten something that's really bad for you, like poisonous, you can hold down left tab and you'll get this menu pop up. Okay, now this is how you use your bodily functions. And obviously you have vomit, you have poop, and you have pee. Alright, so again, you can look here, your bladder, your colon. So anything you eat will go into your stomach, which fills this bar up. Once this empties out, this will go into your intestines, which then separates into your colon or your bladder. Alright, very simple. It's how your body works in real life. And then all you need to do is just do this and you'll relieve yourself. As you can see here, if we watch here, there you go, nice and easy. Now your colon you can only empty this once it's at, I believe, 52%. Once it hits there, then you can obviously go for a number 2 if you need to. Alright, sorry, I just thought I'd interject quickly on what I was doing, just to let you know about that. Alright, so we're already getting hungry again. The reason for this, as I've said, we're using calories while we're doing even simple actions like crafting things. Alright, so if you want to get your reserve energy or your energy reserves up, what you need to do is eat and then rest. You can do this by resting on the floor, just by laying down. Again, you can hold left tab, go into your actions, and here you can have sit down, lay down. You know, there's plenty more here, but lay down is the one you want. Now, obviously I go through all this in the exhaustion guide that I've said that you can go and watch, and you can learn about exhaustion and stuff like that. But laying down like this obviously lowers your burn rate to the lowest it will be, which is about 60 odd. Okay, now you can lay down on the floor, you can lay down on a prefab bed or a crafted bed. Obviously you can make them yourself. If you go into building, sorry, obviously we have improvised beds here. Now when you lay down on these will help more with your exhaustion more than anything. But obviously we're just focusing on nutrition today, so we're just going through burn rates. All right, so obviously laying down like this, your burn rate's going to be very low. While you're doing this, obviously we're now going to take in 134 calories into our energy reserve. So this will only raise us up to about 400 in our energy reserve, but this will be at about 40%. Now, anything under 50% is technically considered as hungry. Okay, you won't starve until you're really low. All right, and you won't really get massive effects from this until you're quite low. All right, now you will get like energy deficiencies, stuff like that. You'll get blurred vision, dizziness, you know, nausea when you are very hungry. Obviously these are all real life sort of things you get from that. All right, so just bear that in mind. Obviously with Scum, it's generally how your body works. All right, if you know how to eat and drink, you'll be all right in Scum. All of this looks like a lot, but as I've said, you can get a lot of information just by holding left control, and I know exactly what I need for that vitamin if it's low. All right, I'm gonna go back to crafting and getting this up. It's been about 10 minutes so far, and we're 5k, so another 10 minutes or so, and we should have that basic level, which then obviously will mean that we'll get things, will make this a lot easier to craft other items like a bigger bag, and that bigger bag will give us a 5x5 slot bag, all right, which is considerably larger than what we've got now. So once you've made yourself a few axes, obviously your survival skill will be going up. You can use these axes then just to cut down trees. You roughly get about 90 XP, I think it is, per tree. But, you know, chop down 20 trees, get yourself a couple of grand in XP. Easy job, eh? And the benefit of this as well is your strength's going to be going up, as well as your dexterity. Obviously your constitution won't be because you stood still, but yeah, you get the idea. You can buff these skills while buffing all of your XP in all of these skills as well, which is quite nice. Our awareness is nearly up to basic already, just from the last hour, and then survival as well from the last 15 to 20 minutes. Not bad. So cut yourself down a load of trees and then cut all of these into wooden planks. I'm starting to get quite hungry, but we still do have a skewer on us, so once we've done this, we can make ourselves a bigger bag, and then we can eat and rest for a little while. This will help with our exhaustion, help with our hunger as well. We've got water on us, so we can deal with our water. It's perfectly fine. And obviously being down here, we can search for olives and eat olives as well with the skewer. And this will give us an extra buff with that calorie intake. See, as you can see right now, we're using 530 calories and our intake is at 111. So our energy reserve is plummeting. But it's easily dealt with, alright? So don't fret too much about it. All these things come with time of just playing Scum and just getting to know the general idea and basics of how this works. Okay, once you've got the basics of how this works, which I hope you'll get from this video, you'll find this very easy to sort of keep on top of this. Alright. As I said in a previous episode, all around the map you will find farms or plenty of fruit and veg. There's also, in towns, you'll find little things like gardens. Some of these gardens have sunflower seeds, like vegetable patches. Some of them have trees, and these trees give certain fruits like apples and cherries, things like that. All of these things you can use to give yourself a really good balanced diet and a healthy diet to then actually gain yourself a lot of muscle mass and get that strength up. Obviously, running around, hiking is going to be your best bet for constitution. Obviously, that will then get your running and endurance skill up as well. You can tell the difference between an olive tree and a normal bush, or olive bush and a normal bush, is the colour difference. Alright, you get these lighter colour bushes. And the difference as well is one will say cut, one will say search. Alright. Now again, those olives are not going to give us a lot of calories. As you can see, it's given us 400. Well, 300. We already had 100 on the intake. But we're still not going to get any energy reserve from that, because our burn rate while we're chopping is higher than our intake rate. Okay, so your energy will never go up. You'll need to rest or have a very high intake of, say, 1,200 calories, and then, you know, you'll take 500 from that into your energy reserves while you're burning the other 500 or so. All right. Now our temperature's getting quite high. Now this will be because we're in the middle of the day. You can tell this by the sun near enough being above us. If you do have a watch, by the supporter pack, go into actions and you can hit this. It will say there's a timer at the bottom left hand corner. If you don't have your jacket on, you'll be able to see your watch as well. But they've put that little timer in the bottom left now, just to give you an indication so you don't have to keep taking your jacket on and off. Middle of the afternoon at the moment, so it's going to be very hot, and obviously we're dressed in quite warm clothing, so it's not going to be helping the situation of our heat. Now, as I said, we will gain hypothermia at some point if we do carry on and our heat gets too high, because our body temperature will continue to rise. This will then give us negative effects on some of our stats. But we'll keep going. It's nearly at 38 now. You might be able to tell as well, we've got like a pink glow around our body now, rather than it being like a plain white. And this is because we're getting hot. Alright. Just a little indicator there, just to show you if you're not looking at this bar here. You can see our severity. Again, get all the information you need from Scum just by hovering over it. Alright. But as we can see, that is rising, and it will continue to rise because obviously we're in the heat, wearing all these clothes, and we're doing work. All right. And there you go. As you can see now, we're starting to get hypothermia, a C1 state, which will give us dizziness and weakness. Death ensues upon reaching 44. All right. So once this hits 44, we'll die. All right. All you need to do to treat it is just obviously lower the temperature. We can go jump in the water. We could take our clothing off. We could stop what we're doing. We can go and sit in some shade. You know, all these things will help that. But as I said, all this information you can get from hovering over it and just holding left control. All right. But there you go. So now we've got hypothermia. As you can see, this is now going to affect our base stats. This will then also affect things like our stamina, our healing speed, immune system, performance scores. So obviously when this happens, we know to take a rest. We know to, you know, take something off, make ourselves a bit cooler. Yeah. Strip off a bit. Even then in the sun, this should start dropping. But obviously we're now getting weakness because we had hypothermia. But as you can see, it's stabilizing quite quickly. There you go. It's now in recovery stage. This is now dropped below 38. All right. Obviously, if we continue to do what we're doing, this will then go back up. But obviously, we're not wearing such warm clothing now, so it won't be as drastic as it was. All right. But another thing to note is that if your base skills are too low, okay, when you hit a certain level in some of these skills, they won't raise above the, say it's on a medium and we're at a 2.5 in, you know, intelligence. This won't go to an advanced skill even if we hit, you know, the maximum amount of XP in that bar. The reason for this is because your base skill isn't high enough for you to have that advanced skill per se, okay? So if you ever get skill, if you ever get a skill, say to 10,000, say this went all the way to 10,000, but our intelligence was really low, if you ever have it where this won't go up to a basic or go up to a medium or go to an advanced, it's because that base skill isn't high enough, okay? So you'll need to raise this base skill before that will go up. So our constitution, if this was low, this wouldn't raise up to an advance, all right? So this is, again, goes back to our first episode where we were talking about not necessarily taking a basic in any skill, because obviously it's only 10,000 XP. For 1 point in this, I believe it's, you know, you're gaining a skill. So from medium to advanced, you'll use 1 point, okay? But from nothing to a basic, you'll use 1 point, okay? So if you haven't seen that episode first, go watch that as well, because that explains when you're creating a character about skills. Obviously, when you're using your attribute points, how they work and stuff like that, and what's the best benefit for them. Obviously, there's some skills that will benefit you first of all, depending on what sort of game style you're playing across. But again, as I always say, Scum's sort of, you know, it's each to their own. It's how you play your game. It's what you want to get out of Scum at the end of the day. Depends if you're playing a solo game, if you're playing with like a few friends. You know, if you've got a large squad, you don't necessarily need advance in all these skills that you need as a solo, because, you know, one of you could be the medic, one of you could be the engineer, you know, and it works out then that someone else can then take that engineering skill that they would have put there and put it into, you know, a high camouflage skill. And then, okay, well, I've got high camouflage, high awareness. I can go and be, you know, the sniper, the Overwatch, you know. So it's all about just learning these things while you're playing Scum. But I'm just here to give you the basics and overview of these things. Now, obviously, we can make a larger bag now. I'm going to need 2 puppet skins for this. So I'm going to go quickly find another puppet. I'm going to not forget my jacket, though, or my t-shirt. And then we'll make a larger bag. Chop them up quick. And then, lovely jubbly, we can make ourselves a bigger bag. Alright. So we do need 5 rags for this and a piece of rope. Rope is going to be very easy to come across. Could even cut down this bush right here and probably make it. So let's pop that back on our back. Pick that up. Pick our arrow back up. Let's chop these down. Alright, and then with our rags and everything else, we can then craft ourselves a bag. Now, a good item to note here, now you've unlocked your basic survival, is the improvised water container, okay? This will hold 10 slots of water for you, as you can see, over our 5 slots here. But it will take up 3, okay? Rather than taking up the 1 slot here, as you can see here, it will take up 1.5, okay? So 1, 2, and 3 slots. So it does make your inventory a little bit awkward, but it gives you that extra water intake. But now we've made our bag, we'll take all these items out of here, and as you can see, we've got a lot more room in here now. So you've pretty much got yourself ready now. If we did keep our animal skin from earlier, obviously we could have made an upgraded animal skin quiver, and that would give us a little bit more inventory space as well, which would have helped us out. But it's not the end of the world. Alright. Pick a few of these up quickly. And here is the olive tree. You can search these, you find olives on these, same as you do in the bushes. Alright. You can find some here. We'll take them with us. Because as you can see, our water and our food in the bottom left is getting very low. So this is a great time to get yourself in a prefab or back to your base and have a little rest. To be honest, probably if you're in a prefab, you're better off just going upstairs and finding a bed. Oh, hello friend. Love having advanced archery on this. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly eat our olives. Eat all our cheese. Then we're going to eat our skewer as well. This will give us a nice lot of calorie intake for us. Alright. Oh yeah, we've got a celery as well we could have. Now, obviously, if you cook all these items together and you can make stuff with them, then obviously you get better calories, you get better proteins and, you know, substances per the use of it. So it's better to obviously cook yourself decent meals rather than just eating raw food and stuff like that. But if you're desperate, obviously just eat olives, eat rose hips, which, you know, you find all over the place in bushes. You know, visit a farm, get yourself a load of potatoes and celery, stuff like that. Eat that as you go. It will still keep you going, alright? Now, go back to our metabolism. Lovely jubbly. We've now got 839 calories, okay? Pretty sure that's all the food we had on us, except from the 2 steaks that we haven't cooked. So then all we need to do is have a little rest. Now, doing this will help with your exhaustion, as I've said. But, obviously now, we're going to end up getting a lot of this intake into our energy reserve, rather than burning it while we're doing things, alright? So, again, I hope you've learned sort of the basics of nutrition, how to get around it, how to use it, how to find what items you need for certain things, you know, how to combine food and stuff to give yourself better calorie intakes, and how this all affects these stats, as you can see here, alright? We've got calorie deficiency at the moment. As I said earlier, once you're in a deficiency, your strength is affected, alright? But this should come out of that quite quickly, obviously, once we start intaking a lot of this, alright? So, what we'll do on the next episode is we're going to go through some more skill gaining. as well as some good areas for you to go and loot up, alright? Because now we have the basics of what we need to defend ourselves against PvE stuff. When it comes to PvP things, we're going to maybe need a bit more firepower. So we'll go around the map and we'll have a look at some decent places that you can go and loot up, which doesn't require any skill at all to loot. And then we'll go through some areas where you're going to need some other equipment and some certain skills to be able to loot it. Okay, so join me then. I hope, as I said, you've taken away something from this guide. I want to give a quick shout out to our channel members, Megahoof, Mary G, Alti, Nectar 940 and Phoenix. Thank you very much for your extra and ongoing support. It's always appreciated. If you did enjoy the video and you learned something, give it a like, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you stay up to date with the latest Scum news, guides and content over on the channel. Until next time, see ya!